Hey everyone, what's up? I don't talk much about my personal life on this channel, but in 2023, I actually made my very first video game that I did for my honors degree. I've kind of been sitting on the game since November of last year and haven't done anything with it, but I think I should change that. And today I want to make a video telling you all about the game, what it is, how it went, my experience with it, and like, is it even any good? Let's jump into it. I guess the first thing is, why did I make a video game? Well, I did an undergraduate degree called Interactive Composition at UniMelb, and I really liked it. It's all about making music and making art and stuff. So I decided to do the honors degree for it as well. And for it, I needed to write a thesis and do a major creative project. Now, interactive composition is sort of music-based, so I was kind of thinking about how to do an interactive music thing for it. In the last year of my undergrad, I did like a whole live performance show where I pretended to be a vampire. It went really well, but I kind of didn't want to do a live show again because I thought it would put too much pressure on me to like get all my grades in like one single night and one show. I kind of wanted to have something that I could share around and would still exist like the night after the assessment was done. You know what I mean? So I kind of thought that I would make a video game. I've literally never done it before, but I love games, as is kind of obvious by this channel, and I just thought it would be fun. Originally, I actually thought about making something a lot like Deus Ex, like a 3D environment where you would move around and there'd be a lot of environmental storytelling. And I tried that. I tried firing up Unity and doing that, but it was really hard. I mean, I have no idea how to use Unity. I still don't. And my prototypes were ass. I'll throw some on screen right now. I had this like block looking dude with my face all over. It was just messed up, honestly. And so I realized if I was gonna make a game like that, it would take longer than a year. I just wouldn't be able to do everything at once. So I thought, how can I make a game while having literally zero programming skills? So I turned to the visual novel genre. Now, if you don't know about visual novels, a lot of them are actually anime games with like cute anime girls, and they're like school romances, and it's kind of a way of telling like a choose your own adventure graphic novel story while it being like an interactive game. I was actually really inspired by this game, Milk Inside a Bag of Milk Inside a Bag of Milk. It's by this guy Nikita Krukov, and I thought it was really interesting because my idea of a visual novel was that it kind of had to be the anime thing, which is cool. It's just not what I personally wanted to make. But when I saw this visual novel, I realized it could be a lot more. It's just a way of telling a story, so if your artwork and your narrative and your visuals are different, the story's different. I really liked how Milk Inside a Bag of Milk focused on the like inner mental world of the character, and it was a lot more abstract and conceptual. And I kind of thought something conceptual would be good for an honors degree. So, you know, I copied that a little bit. Great artists steal or whatever. All right, so with the mechanics of how I was gonna make this game set, I needed to figure out what I was gonna make it about. And the real wrinkle with this is that I also had to write a big thesis paper about it. So the idea couldn't be simple. It had to have something that I could turn into a long ass dissertation. So what I settled on is the concept of hauntology. Hauntology was originally a concept thought up by Jacques Derrida to talk about Marxism and how like the specters of Marxism were floating over the political landscape and sort of haunting it. And it's been used to talk about capitalism a lot, but it's also been used to talk about art. When a work considers hauntological topics, they're considering the way things in the past shape the future or the present while they don't actually exist in the present. It's just these specters of ideas and events that are like leftover residue from time. So you can go pretty simple with that. I mean, if you have like a ghost story, that's kind of hauntological. But if something like Dark Souls, for example, I think is very hauntological, where the world is so tied up in what happened in the past that it no longer can function and can exist, and you have to rekindle the fire. Anyway, I took that theme of hauntology and decided I wanted to talk about cyberpunk vampires. But now we've talked about how I made the game, why I made it, and what I made it about, let's just talk about the game. Yeah, so I hosted the game on Itch.io, which was a really good experience, actually. I think it looks really cool. But yeah, the game starts, and you play as a character named Zed. As you can see, Zed here looks like me. His name is Zed. My last name is Zinzovski. And yeah, I just put myself in the game. Why not? I'm the main character. I thought it would be easier to like write close to home because, I'm not a very practiced writer. So I thought if I just base it on me, that would be a lot easier for me to write something that made sense, like a weird version of myself. But yeah, that's me. I'm Zed, and you play as his conscience, his inner mental voice. So Zed actually exists, and you play inside Zed's mind, and you influence him on his decisions, but he's almost separate from you. You have a sequence here where you sort of talk to yourself, and that's where I get a lot of the exposition out about the game. But I'll just tell you, you're a vampire and you're addicted to blood, and you're meeting with your drug dealer named Lux, and he's gonna sell you some blood. As you meet up with Lux, it becomes clear that the meeting that you had scheduled with him is not quite what you understood that it should be. Lux reveals that you two had a conversation last week that left him shook, and you don't remember the conversation. So apparently you told him that he needed to stop selling drugs in your turf, otherwise I think you might, do him in. But you, Zed, don't remember actually doing that. But the weirdest thing is there's an audio recording of you threatening him. So you did do it, right? Why don't you remember it? As it turns out, at this meeting, Lux actually doesn't have any blood to sell you because he thought you were trying to squeeze him out. He's really confused. And so you can either choose to just leave confused and without the drugs that you need, or you can kill him. Now, I'll let you do that in your playthrough. I'm not going to kill him. We're just going to get out of here. So this sets up the premise of the story. You are apparently unable to remember the things that are happening in your own life, and you kind of want to find answers to that. So here's an element that I actually kind of forgot I did for this game, actually, awkwardly. These vignettes, I wrote poems that I recorded the voiceover for and did music for. We'll come back to them in a minute, because the intention is for the player to interpret these vignettes themselves. They represent some material. I think we'll skip this for now. So after your meeting with Lux, you encounter a lady, and apparently her name's Lyriel, and she knows you, but you've forgotten her. And she actually produces a photo of the two of you together. So who is Zed, and why can't he remember anything? And what's actually going on here? Why is he so lost in this weird world? We're going to keep the photo. Lyriel offers to let you keep that photo of you two, and I think you're going to keep it. So after your encounter with Lyriel, where she gives you a photo, says that she'll see you again, you leave to return to your apartment to address your drug craving. Back in your apartment, we get a bit of a look of how Zed lives. He kind of lives in filth, and in his filthy apartment, Zed is injecting some blood to fix his cravings. As you're injecting, another woman appears at your door. Her name is Dahlia. Now that's actually a reference to Black Dahlia. I was playing LA Noire at the time, so. Now you can choose to let Dahlia in or not, but I think we'll let Dahlia in our playthrough. Dahlia and Lyriel both seem to want a book that you've stolen. Again, you're not aware of what this book is. As Dahlia is about to attack you, despite the fact that we didn't want any of that smoke, you're interrupted as you're saved by a man who looks just like you. That's the third act of the story done, and so far, we don't really know anything. As the guy who made the game, I give the player a lot of breadcrumbs to figure out what the story is supposed to be, and you can try and piece it together and have a grasp on something as you go. Now, it's not really a murder mystery, because I don't think you could solve it, figure out what's happening to Zed before the game ends, but it does put you in this place of mystery and discovery, and, turns your brain on a little bit. That's sort of what I was hoping for. Now that you've been saved by this man, let's find out who he is and see if he has any answers. So you wake up in a bookstore, and the man who saved you is talking to you, and it turns out he is you. So basically, you've lived a very long life. You're a vampire, after all. In a previous part of your life, you were known as Silas, and that ghostly entity of yourself has re-emerged in the present as your mind is fractured a little, and now he's giving you exposition. And so now I'm sort of going to pull back the curtain on the narrative. So if you do want to do the whole solve it yourself, experience the mystery of it all, maybe go play your playthrough now and then come back. But, you know, if you don't want to do that, I'll just tell you. Basically, what is going on is that as Zed, you're becoming an old and weakened vampire, and your ends are sort of fraying. Given that you're very powerful, a lot of the energy from your life is seeping back into the present and competing for you. Silas is an example of this. He's your former self, and he wants to come into the present and guide you. He's the one who intimidated Lux at the beginning of the game, and he wants to help you become strong and virile again and continue to be powerful and violent. Dahlia and Lyriel represent another entity from your forgotten past that are coming back to haunt you. See where the hauntology comes in? And we're going to touch on that in the final act. So in the final act of the game, you actually go to a club, which is kind of funny, kind of like in Blade, but you go to a club that's inside a church, and you're there to sort of confront these demonic women that have been attacking you and find out what they want from you and try and get your powers back. Now, the final act is certainly the longest and most involved act of the game, so I'll skip some stuff that you can find out in your own playthrough if you like. Basically, what happens is Lyriel and Dahlia come and they find you at this church and they drag you out back. They present you with the book that you stole, Swan's Way, and you make the realization that this book was a gift to the love of your life, Eleanor. She's the one that you've been seeing in all of the vignettes throughout the game. That's where the vignettes come back in. They're showing you your own past. They're interspersing the past with the present, sort of a mixing of timelines. And when you open the book, Eleanor is there. You've trapped her in the book and she's talking to you. The reason you trapped her in the book is that when she found out that you were a vampire, she rebuffed your love, you were heartbroken, and you decided to trap her and punish her by putting her in this book forever. So at the end of the game, you can make the choice to ratify your decisions of violence and vitriol, or to give yourself up to happiness and peace. So Eleanor represents the good in you, and Silas sort of represents the bad. And in the end, it's a pretty clear-cut decision of whether you want to be good or you want to be evil. And it's kind of just up to you what you want to be. I tried hard with the ending to make it so that the game doesn't judge you and tell you you should be good or should be evil, but they are, you know, it is sort of a over-the-top theatrical game. So ultimately you are choosing, I'm going to be bad or I'm going to be good, and it's just kind of what you want to do and how you want to play through the game. Alright, so there we have it. That's the game I made. Ultimately, playing through the game again after I finished it in November, what do I actually make of it all? Well, sometimes the dialogue is pretty bad. Some of the characters, the dialogue doesn't make a lot of sense for them. A lot of the times there's too much exposition. Sometimes it's a little bit too edgy, and that is a problem. But I am proud of myself for the writing that I did do, because it's not really my forte. My forte is really the music, and I was really proud of how the music in this game turned out. I actually think it's the best element of it, which is not that surprising, given that it's my background. I think it provides a lot of the mood and a lot of the coolness to the game. I'll have the full OST available on my Patreon. If you want to check that out, it'll be free there. You can just go get it. It's just a good place to put it. If you like it, you can go have it there. I think it's the best bit of the game. Adds a lot of the mood, a lot of the character, and kind of covers up some of the holes in the storytelling a little bit. I think as a story, the process of uncovering it is definitely fun. How rewarding that is, it's hard for me to say because I know what happens, but certainly there's cool intricacies to it, and there's been effort put into that. So as a short experience, I think it's pretty good. I like the vignettes that I did for it. I think that adds an element of it. And if you know that it's hauntological and you tie it into those themes, it really does make sense that there's a lot of haunting going on in the game. So ultimately, I'm more pleased with it than I thought I would be coming back to it. You know, when you make something like this, by the end of making it, you're sick of it. You think it's kind of bad. You don't want to touch it anymore. Coming back after many, many months, I am proud of this. You know, it was something really new for me, and I'm happy I did it. Touching on the thesis paper I did for it as well, That talks about like all the techniques I use to do it and all the theoretical stuff. So cramming that theoretical stuff into the artwork added an element to it where there's a lot to chew on if you really want to do that. And there's literally an academic article to read that's in part about the game, not totally about the game, but it's in part about the game, but also made making the game really hard because it has to like conform to all of these things. That was a real problem. But there's an element that I just haven't even talked about yet because I didn't really know how to touch it, and I'm gonna put it here at the end of the video because maybe I'll bait out some comments earlier, people not talking about it, and you might have figured it out. The art in this game's AI. What do we think about that? Well, I don't love that it's AI. I would have much rather had somebody do the artwork or done the artwork myself, but ultimately it's AI generated and probably based on copywritten works from artists that weren't paid. Brass tacks, I wish I could have paid somebody to do some artwork because I didn't have the time or the skill to do it well, and somebody could have, but I don't have money to do that. If I had money, I would have just done that. If I had money, I would just do a lot of things. So I made this decision. It made the project realizable, made it exist, but I would never take this to commercial market with the AI content in it because I just don't feel good about that. So, you know, it's going to be free forever as it is in this state, which is probably the final state of it. Let's be real. I don't think I'm going to change anything about it. I would just make a new game. And on that, will I consider making another game? First of all, like, would you even care? Did you even like the game? But for myself, I would like to make another game. I would actually really like to do something in the sort of Bloodborne PSX style of that like demake 3D world PS1 style thing using like modern game design principles. I really love to explore that. So yeah, that is something that I really do want to do in the future. In the future being sort of the operative term there. Like I don't know when I'm going to get the time, the latitude to do that. It's sort of like a life goal. I'll get there. I'm like 10 years old, you know, I got another million years to live. It'll happen. But yeah, that's my game. Everything's linked in the description. Obviously, go in there, you'll find stuff if you're keen. I'm glad that I did this retrospective because I've sort of been sitting on it. I haven't been feeling that great about this game, and it's sort of nice to do this as like an official launch for it, even though I finished the game in November. It's just nice to sort of release it into the world and just sort of let it go, you know? So if you want to go play it, go play it. If you don't. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. I'll see you later. Bye-bye. All right, that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I just wanted to take the opportunity to shout out all of my Patreon supporters. So thank you to Raphael Gordan, Vladislav Antonenko, Chris Spensive, Nork426, Ashro, Dave, Andrew McTaggart, Mark David, Rima, Thomas Cooliz, Deliverator, Star 1120, Robert Alex, The Ore Baron, Butterjam Jimbo, Corey Kraushaar, Brimst, Van Borner, Forrest Parron, Lucas Fyodorchuk, and my mum. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.